Every morning you flip on the sprinkler, watch it spin, and feel like a good lawn owner. Here's what I want you to notice. That daily watering is the reason your lawn is thin, weedy, and breaking out in fungus. You're not underwatering. You're watering wrong, and the weeds thrive on it. That constant damp on the surface is exactly what weed seeds and lawn disease need to take over, while your grass grows weaker underneath. And the fix isn't more water, it's less. Water the right way and starve the weeds without spraying a thing. Let me show you. I know that sounds backwards. Everyone's told you a healthy lawn needs plenty of water, and watering every day feels like the responsible thing to do. But the problem was never how much you care. It's the frequency. When you water a little bit every single day, that water only ever soaks the top inch of soil. It never goes deeper. And your grass roots are lazy in the best possible way. They only grow toward water. If the water is always sitting right at the surface, your roots have zero reason to grow down. They camp out in that top inch, shallow and weak, because you're handing them everything they need at the surface. And that's where this quietly costs you money on two fronts at the same time. You're paying a higher water bill every month to run that sprinkler daily. Then you're paying again for weed killer, for fungus treatment, for patching the thin spots to fix the exact problems that the daily watering is causing. You're funding both sides of the fight. You water to help the lawn, the watering weakens the lawn, and then you buy products to rescue it. Before you change a single thing, though, you have to know one detail about your yard. Because for one specific type of lawn, frequent watering is actually the right call. Get that part wrong and you'll swing straight into the opposite mistake. Let's get the distinction straight, because this is where most people go sideways. The real split isn't watering versus not watering, it's deep and infrequent versus shallow and frequent. For an established cool season lawn fescue, ryegrass, Kentucky bluegrass, deep and infrequent wins. But here's the honest exception. Warm season grasses like Bermuda and zoysia can genuinely handle more frequent watering, and brand new grass seed or fresh sod actually needs light, frequent misting to survive until it roots in. So if that's you, this is different. The advice to water often isn't wrong everywhere, it's just the right rule for the wrong lawn when people apply it to an established, cool season yard. For everybody else, watering daily is quietly wrecking things. Watch what deep watering actually does, because two things happen at once. When you soak the soil deep down 6 inches or so, the water sinks past that top layer, and your roots chase it down, building a deep, strong root system that can pull moisture from way down during a heat wave. That's a drought-proof lawn. Shallow watering does the opposite on both counts. It keeps all the moisture parked at the surface, so roots stay shallow and scorch the first hot day, and that constant surface moisture is a 5-star hotel for weed seeds and fungus. Weeds germinate in that damp top layer. Fungus spreads in it. You're not just growing a weak lawn, you're personally running the irrigation system for every weed in it. But there's a deeper reason overwatering fails, and almost nobody knows this part. Roots don't just need water, they need oxygen. Down in the soil, there are tiny pockets of air between the particles, and your grass roots actually breathe the oxygen out of those pockets to stay alive and keep growing. Now think about what happens when you keep that shallow layer of soil constantly wet. The water fills up all those air pockets. There's no oxygen left down there. And roots sitting in waterlogged, airless soil start to suffocate and die the same way a houseplant rots when it sits in a pot with no drainage. It's not thirst that kills it. It's drowning. So overwatering isn't just growing weak, shallow roots, it's actively drowning the roots you already have. That daily sprinkler you're so proud of? On the wrong lawn, it's slowly killing the grass from the roots up while feeding the weeds from the surface down. The fix comes down to one number and two things you already own. Your lawn wants roughly 1 to 1.5 inches of water a week, including rain delivered in just 1 or 2 deep soaks instead of 7 shallow ones early in the morning. To measure that inch, you don't need a gadget. Set an empty tuna can out on the grass while the sprinkler runs. And when it's full to about an inch, you're done. That's the amount. No more guessing. And to check you actually watered deep enough, grab a long screwdriver and push it into the soil after. If it slides in easily about 6 inches, the water reached the root zone. If it stops short, you didn't water deep enough. Tuna can and a screwdriver. That's your whole toolkit, and it costs you nothing. Before I get into the exact routine, let me be straight about what this actually saves you, because there's nothing to buy here. Watering less cuts your bill and starves the weeds and fungus at the same time, so you spend less on water and less on the products you were buying to fix problems the water caused. I'll be fair about the exceptions. Warm season lawns, fresh seed, sandy, fast-draining soil, and brutal heat waves all shift these numbers, and I'll get to that. But for most established lawns, the highest leverage move is simply watering deep and backing off the frequency. Quick question while you're here, drop it in the comments. What grass type do you have? And how often are you watering right now? Because if you're watering daily, I already know part of your problem. Now the routine, step by step, and each piece has a reason. First, figure out your grass. Cool season grasses, fescue, bluegrass, rye want deep and infrequent. Warm season grasses like Bermuda and zoysia can take more frequent. And if you just put down new seed or sod, that's the one time daily light watering is correct, until it establishes. Second, aim for that 1 to 1.5 inches a week, total, counting any rain. Third, measure it with the tuna can so you stop guessing and stop overshooting. Fourth, water early in the morning, never at night, because wet grass blades sitting in the dark for hours is how you grow fungus, and never in the midday heat, because up to half of it just evaporates before it soaks in. Morning, not night. Fifth, if you've got clay soil or a slope and the water starts running off before it soaks in, split it up water in a couple of short bursts a little apart, so the soil has time to drink it instead of shedding it. And after all that, do the screwdriver test to confirm you actually hit the root zone. Don't guess. Push the screwdriver in. What should you actually see once you switch? Be patient, because for the first week or so, the lawn might look slightly stressed while the roots adjust to reaching deeper. That's normal, not failure. Then it greens up richer and holds that color longer between waterings, because the deep roots are feeding it from below. And the weeds and fungus, robbed of that constant surface moisture they were living on, start to fade over the following weeks. Here's a satisfying one. Your screwdriver will start sliding in deeper over time, because your roots are literally reaching further down. If nothing's improving, check the usual suspects. Are you still watering daily out of pure habit? Are you watering at night? Is the water running off your clay before it soaks in? Or is your sandy soil drying out so fast it genuinely needs a bit more frequency? And even perfect watering won't fix everything, because there's one thing underneath that can undo all of it. Let me tell you what. This is where I stop you before you overcorrect. Deep and infrequent is not a law of physics for every lawn. Warm season grasses, new seed, sandy soil that drains in minutes, and extreme summer heat all legitimately call for more frequent watering. So never water often would be just as wrong as water every day. The goal was never to water less for its own sake. It's to match the water to your lawn so the roots go deep. And here's the honest ceiling. Watering correctly can't rescue a lawn that's thin, because the soil underneath is packed hard and compacted. If water can't penetrate in the first place, the best schedule in the world just runs off. Watering right is powerful, but it's not magic. There's a genuine bonus hiding in that screwdriver, though. It's not just a depth checker, it's a free compaction test. If you go to push it into moist soil and it barely goes in at all, you didn't just learn your watering depth. You just found a compaction problem you probably didn't know you had, and that changes your whole plan. One cheap tool, 2 answers. And none of this is my opinion. Lawn care companies and university extension programs line up on all of it. Shallow, frequent watering grows shallow roots and increases weeds and disease, while deep, infrequent watering builds deeper roots and a tougher lawn. The oxygen part that waterlogs soil starves roots of the air they need, and they begin to die comes straight from extension research, not from me. Both halves of what I promised at the top are documented. The weak, weedy lawn that daily watering creates, and the strong one the right routine builds. Now add up the real cost. A whole summer of running the sprinkler every single day, the inflated water bill, the weeds it fed, the fungus it grew, and the products you bought trying to fix all of it versus 1 or 2 deep soaks a week that use less total water, cost less on the bill, and build a stronger lawn while doing it. 7 shallow waterings a week can easily use more water than 2 deep ones, because so much of that daily surface water evaporates before it ever does anything. The gut punch isn't just the money. It's that the daily habit you thought was the responsible, caring thing was quietly the source of half your lawn problems. Here's the reversal that ties it together. Watering correctly removes the conditions that were feeding your weeds and your fungus, the constant surface moisture they depend on. But I need to be clear about what it does and doesn't do. This is a prevention tool, not a weed killer. It stops new weeds from getting the damp welcome mat they need, and it strengthens your grass to crowd them out, but it will not erase the established weeds already dug into your lawn. Those still need their own treatment. Correct watering is how you stop feeding the problem and starve out the next generation. It's the lock on the door, not the cleanup of what already got in. So picture that sprinkler from the start, the one you flip on every morning feeling like you're doing right by your lawn. Now you know it was quietly doing the opposite, keeping the roots shallow, drowning them of oxygen, and watering your weeds for you. The one question that decides whether your lawn turns around is simple. Is your soil staying wet on top and bone dry underneath? Because that gap, right there, is the whole problem, and closing it is free. Tell me in the comments what grass you've got and how often you water, and whether that screwdriver slides in easy or stops short. Fixing the soil underneath the compaction that decides whether any of this water even gets in is the next thing I want to walk you through. Because that's where a truly resilient lawn actually starts.